Okay, we are live. Well, not really. We're just, we are just recording. That's all. Um, hmm, okay. What's today's date? Today is Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. Um, Great day. Great day to uh, wake up. Every day is a great day to wake up. Um, Sorry, my camera is shaking quite a bit. I'm going to actually buy a webcam today to add the stability, but for now, I guess if you have any motion sickness, maybe don't watch the video, just listen. There's nothing crazy happening on screen anyway, so you're not missing anything. Um, 2025, crazy year. Very crazy year. Crazy time that we're living in. The astrologers call it the age of Aquarius. I understand that to mean this is an age of change, and it is definitely something that I have picked up on. It is something that I've been affected by. Um, it is something that I am experiencing along with the rest of the world. Um, this shift, this cultural shift, uh, seems to be a very large pendulum swing from one extreme, maybe back to another extreme. I'm not sure. But there is a shift. There is a tangible difference in the ether. Um, the governing entities are either not what they weren't once were, or the power is changing hands. We are moving from a time of obfuscation and lies and deceit and deception being very profitable enterprises. We are moving to a time where truth is more profitable, truth and authenticity. And I think this reveals itself in a number of ways. Some are probably obvious to you. You can probably think of them immediately after I even suggest the idea. You can think of some instances in which a previously deceitful organization or entity is now being judged, or its feet are being held to the fire. I would say Hollywood is the most obvious example I can think of. But there are countless examples because this is happening all over the world. It's worldwide. Or consciousness wide is a more accurate descriptor. So I want to seize the moment. I believe that I I believe that I've witnessed the development of the culture that we're shifting away from. In some capacity, I don't know how to explain that, but the previous time I didn't capitalize. I didn't do anything. I decided that I have to wait until I feel prepared, and all of the stars have to align and everything has to be correct. Since then, I've come to realize that you have to allow the version of yourself, a certain version of yourself, to exist in order to capitalize on the present moment. There is always a version of you that can capitalize on the present moment. The question is, will you allow that version of yourself to exist, to be present in the world? What does that look like in practice? For some people, in order to capitalize on, say, the attention economy, they had to allow a version of themselves to exist that was okay with doing ridiculous things on the internet for clicks and views and likes and shares. And it may have worked out for them. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. But the point is, that was the version of themselves that allowed them to uh, capitalize in a way they saw fit. There is no waiting to become the right person. You already are the right person. You just have to figure out how to communicate or how that person represents themselves in the world. So that being said, this whole channel is just where I just talk about stuff. I just need a place for my brain to spill over, because I found that trying to keep it all contained, it's not good for my mental health at all. It's been rough. And I'm also looking to find my people. And that can't happen if I stay in my head. So, yeah, that being said, here's a quick 7 things to kind of kick everything off. It's like a get to know me, like an icebreaker thing. You know how when you start school in the first days, all you do is icebreakers. If you're lucky, all you're doing is icebreakers. No actual work, just 2 truths and a lie. Write a paragraph about your summer and read it to the class, that kind of thing. I hated it during the time, but that's because I had social anxiety and I didn't know it. So now I have social anxiety and I know it, so I can deal with it accordingly. But back then, my only answer was to just try to avoid having eyes on me in ways that I couldn't control. I wanted to control people's perception of me, and I didn't see a way to integrate that activity into a positive perception of myself. Like, I was thinking, there's no way I can do this and look cool. There's no way I can do this and people won't make fun of me. So I hated it. It was a puzzle that I couldn't figure out. Then I learned the answer to the puzzle is just not care, because you can't. You'll never be able to control other people's perceptions of you. So don't worry about it. It's not important. Anyway, yeah, that's all this is. It's just my a quick 7 things about me, I guess. Yeah. All right. So number 1, at the core of it all, I recognize that this whole thing, all of life, is an expression of consciousness, the omnipresent substance from which existence springs forth. Consciousness, awareness, being, these are constituent elements of reality. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. Because we are spiritual beings, I recognize that everything that happens in the physical world is a shadow of what's taking place in the spiritual world. Think of Plato's cave. If you're not familiar with that, just look it up. It's pretty interesting. So, yeah. Anyways, this understanding allows me to zoom out and see that I have the power to shape my reality through spiritual practice. The more I practice, the more power I have. This in mind, the only question that matters is, what reality do I want to create? From here, I, or you, can begin to build your character. You set your goals. From the psychocybernetic perspective, you set your objective and off you go. Immersing yourself in the game, staying present, staying aware, staying connected to source, and allowing the necessary adjustments to be made as you go. This is a very involved game that we're playing here. Anyways, I don't want to get too off into the weeds just yet. In good time, I will further explore these ideas. For now, I want to lay down the foundational understanding, essentially, that this is all a dream, an expression of consciousness. I am consciousness. I am conscious, which means I can play this game to my liking, since the goal is simply to experience being. So if that's the goal, I've already achieved it. I'm already here. To maybe elucidate a little bit further, this is kind of the foundation of, in my opinion, a winner's mentality, is the idea that you've already won. Winning is not foreign to you. Your subconscious is not a stranger to victory, to winning. There are a lot of people out there who have convinced themselves that they are not going to win, they can't win, they lose all the time, they're losers. That's a loser's mindset. But understanding that the goal is just to exist, to experience existence, to experience being, and I've achieved that. Everything else is just cherries now. What do I want to do? This is the sandbox. Granted, there are still rules here, but those rules aren't on existence. Those rules are on how to achieve certain things within this sandbox. So if you want, let's say, to be a professional athlete, there are certain rules, and there's a certain route you have to take to get there. If you want to be a politician, same thing. If you want to have a hot dog cart or stand in New York, same thing. There are rules. But fundamentally, from the perspective of source, you've already won. You could lay in bed for the rest of your life if that is truly what you want to do. The issue is, for most people, that's not what they want to do. Anyways, I'm getting off track. So next, I'll explain who myself is. Now, it's important, that distinction, myself. The self that belongs to me, the identity that belongs to this vessel, me, this thing. I am pro-America, very pro-America. I'm a Candace Owens kind of black guy. Not so much. They're calling them YNs these days. Yeah, Candace Owens is a huge inspiration to me. I'm a Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell type guy. Actually, one of the probably the first book that we'll dive in together is Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. But yeah, I'm pro-America, very pro-America. I also recognize my blackness, and that is an important part of my identity. It's just interesting how these things intersect in the social circle, and how their intersection is perceived by different people. But that's also something that we'll explore later down the line as it comes up. I'm also pro-capitalism. Oh, actually, let me go back to pro-America real quick, because the reason I even put this on the list is because it's popular to hate on America. If I'm being honest, it's just because everybody hates on number one. That's just what happens, Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. That's what happens. I say that in jest. All the people of the world, friendly competition, we can call it. But yeah, I see those videos of like those street interviews where somebody's asking like an American, name 5 countries in Europe, or what's the capital of France, or whatever. And in the comments section, you have a bunch of, Europeans, foreigners. Americans don't know anything. They don't know anything about geography. Americans think the world revolves around them. They think nobody else exists. I don't think those people understand how massive this country is. I believe the continental United States is about the same size as all of Europe. So, like we have states that have the same GDP as entire countries over there. There's like slight flex. Like it's big money. It's big over here. Very big over here. So it's like, sure, I guess it would be cool if granted, American education needs a bump. Seriously. But it's just, it's hard to care or be super up to date with everything that's going on in every other corner of the world when we're busy enough in America. Like, I don't think you guys understand how massive this country is. How, like, in terms of just geographical landmass and population and the expanse of experiences that are taking place here. It's just massive in as many ways as you can think of the word. So it's like, okay, we don't know how long it takes to get from Switzerland to France. We don't know which tube you guys use or what. Like, who cares? I don't care. That's the honest truth. So yeah, I'm very pro-American. That doesn't mean I'm anti-other countries, but I am pro-America. Now we can move on. You probably heard me say it before, but the next thing is I'm pro-capitalism. I'm in the same way that I'm pro-American but not anti-other countries. I'm pro-capitalism, but I'm not anti-socialism. Because, truth be told, I don't really understand either one of these philosophies in their essence. And before you go, so you don't know what you're talking about. That's why you like capitalism, because you don't know anything. I think these are concepts that are very easy to scapegoat. Because they're so easy to scapegoat, the definitions of these terms become significantly more subjective than we allow ourselves to acknowledge. So when somebody says, I'm pro-capitalism, that means 40 different things to 40 different people. And when we don't talk about it because we just assume we all mean the same thing. When I say I'm pro-capitalism, I mean I am pro... Who said this? I believe they described capitalism as the economic manifestation of libertarianism. I think. Don't quote me. I'll have to go and look that up. But the point is, as I understand capitalism, it simply means that if I find a place where I can add value to a market, and in exchange for the value that I add, I am compensated in accordance with an agreement between the two parties, that is capitalism. So let's say I make a product and, let's say I run into a group of people who don't have shoes. They're not poor or anything. They're not homeless. They just don't have shoes. They've never encountered shoes. I'm like, these people are missing out on the benefits of wearing shoes. So I create shoes. I'm the owner of the means of production. I go out and I hire all the people and I contract the workers and all that stuff. I build a business to provide shoes to this group of people that has never seen or heard of shoes. And I introduce it to them. I market it to them. They like it. They buy it. And we create a transactional relationship in which they give me money and I provide them value. I give them this thing that they like. And I then use that money to continue to run my company. And if I so choose, I will expand. That is capitalism. The way I've heard capitalism described from people who don't like it is they say infinite growth is built into capitalism. Capitalism demands infinite growth, and that is why we have this overconsumption, overproduction problem that we're seeing in the world. I don't know that that's baked. It could be. I don't know. Another thing to make clear is on this channel, I'm not trying to come to anyone as an authority. I don't believe... Well, I won't say that, but yeah, I'm not trying to come to anyone as an authority. I'm not trying to present myself as an authority. I am just sharing my experiences and learning as I go. But yeah, this whole infinite growth being built into capitalism thing, I don't really see that. I see that as a consequence of human greed. I think that a lot of terms that we use as scapegoats for problems are masks for the real problems, which tend to be human in nature. But as far as not being anti-socialism, it works for people in certain circumstances for certain periods of time. It just seems like when you try to scale socialism, it doesn't work. That's when it breaks down. When you try to implement it on insane scales with hundreds of millions of people, then it doesn't seem to work very well. But that doesn't mean the theory and the idea in itself is bad. It's meant to be practiced in certain circumstances. Same thing with capitalism. It's meant to be practiced in certain circumstances, and both of these systems can flourish in certain circumstances. But it seems like the world, or the average person, or a lot of people are convinced of this. It's one or the other dichotomy. One is better than the other. We have to move from one to the other. I think the world is very, very complex. It's never going to be as simple as this is the best option. Because you have to analyze the inputs in order to gauge what the outputs should be. Or rather, you have to analyze the inputs to gauge what the outputs will be. I don't know. Yeah, but I'll get deeper into that. This is already way longer than I meant it to be. I'm just yapping. Number 5, I am in support of the, masculine-feminine dualistic structure being the societal norm. So way back probably like 2015, 2016 is when a lot of this, what do you call it? I don't know, but a lot of the trans stuff was really, like, the debate was really kicking off. Or at least that's when I became more aware of it. And it always just seemed odd to me. The whole conversation was just weird. Because, now let me preface all this by saying, because I know, this is the internet, people are very sensitive. Let me preface this by saying, if you believe yourself to be a different gender than biology would suggest, that's your business. That's fine. I don't care. I have nothing against you. I'm not anti-you. What else? Like, there are certain things that you have to clarify. On a human level, I love you all the same. I don't care what proclivities or, beliefs you have. As a human being, I love you all the same. That doesn't mean the things that you might do won't puzzle me or confuse me, or maybe even kind of like, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. Love from a distance. I think that's adequate. I think that's out of the way. So back to what I was saying. When this was kicking off, I found this all very strange, because it seemed like an attempt to upend a societal norm or tradition or understanding that had, lasted for most of human history. Like, the conversation essentially was, hey, on one side, we're like, we have this understanding of the masculine and the feminine that has served humanity for a very, very long time, and we don't see a reason to abandon it for these kind of theoretical concepts and understandings that are not grounded. When we have situations where people are saying there are 72 different genders and sex and biology is different and all this other stuff, and like, just obfuscating the conversation, like, and I'm like, for what purpose? Like, what does society look like? Let's say you guys succeed in kind of destroying this edifice of the masculine and feminine duality. What now? Do we have 72 genders? Do we have 50? And I think this is probably why this argument has kind of lost steam, is because it's like, all right, let's grant you all of your propositions. Now, how do we organize society? Now, what do we do? When you're trying to organize large groups of people, simplicity is best, because you are trying to accommodate such a wide array of perspectives and beliefs that you have to find the lowest common denominator. And this whole gender stuff is way up here conceptually. So it's difficult to make, like, policy and stuff. Like, the best you can do is guarantee, like, hey, you won't be harmed for your beliefs. And that's what we should do. Obviously, we should guarantee policy and legislation that ensures that no one is harmed for these beliefs. for how they choose to express themselves. No one should be harmed for that. But beyond that, when you're trying to implement it into our like daily lives, I used to work at Meta, and I worked there. Let me see, 2018 to no 20. I don't remember the years. Maybe 2020 to 2023. And in the bathrooms, in the male bathrooms, there were tampons. Okay. Now, at the building that I worked at, they were going back and forth about how long they were going to keep it open. They were speculating about closing it and moving everyone. Da 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 da. Meta was going through it was the year of efficiency, so they were cutting a lot of costs. So when I first got there, in the bathroom there were little toothbrush things. So like they also serve food at the cafeteria, so you could eat there and then go to the bathroom and like brush your teeth. With those little disposable toothbrush things, they had mouthwash. They had what else did they have? Toothbrushes, mouthwash. They had all kinds of stuff, and among them they had tampons and pads in the men's bathroom. So during these budget cuts, they started taking things out. They took out the toothpaste. They took out the mouthwash, but they left the pads and tampons in the men's bathroom. And it's at that point you're like, okay, this is clearly not about efficiency. This is some kind of agenda. Because how do you make that decision? Like, all right, what are we going to take out of these bathrooms? Well, what's most needed in them? This is kind of what I was talking about with finding the lowest common denominator to satisfy the most amount of people. So if you're trying to satisfy the men that use the men's bathroom and you're like taking out the amenities that are in that bathroom, you have to find the lowest common denominator, the most common necessity for that group of people, men who are going to be using that bathroom. What's more essential to that group of people? Tampons or a disposable toothbrush? The answer is obvious. You know what the answer is. But for a long time, we had to pretend, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe it's good that we should keep the tampons and the pads in the men's bathroom instead of the Listerine and it was a lot of pretending. So that whole conversation back then obfuscated something that I think was essential and beneficial to the functioning of a society, which is an understanding of how the masculine and feminine are represented in that society. And we've established that in America, in the West, well, I'll say in America, I don't know about the other countries, but in America, we subscribe to a dualistic system of gender expression. Now, if you want to bounce between them, I'm also more fine. Like if you are, like, I'll use the term, and forgive me if you are in the LGBTQIA plus community and I get this theory wrong. But if you are a man and you believe you're a woman, that's fine. If you're a woman and you believe you're a man, also fine. But when you start to tell me that you're neither, or you're something other than these things, then I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. So I can't even engage with the idea. That is not useful. That is not helpful. I don't even think that's real. My honest opinion is that, like, at certain points in history, for the youth to express themselves in a way that separates their identity from the previous generation, they would express it through forms of rebellion. Say they would start smoking cigarettes because their parents they would clutch their pearls. Like, how could you do that? You're trying to define your identity separate from the generation before you. So you do things that shock the generation before you to create that barrier of separation. So back then it was, say, or not even back then, but there were just different ways to do it. You could start smoking cigarettes, hanging around a certain crowd, engage in a certain hobby, whatever. Somewhere along the line, explorations of gender and sexual orientation became one of these ways in which you could express yourself. But it was less about your true self and more about putting on costumes. So you could just be everything if you wanted. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's another thing that I'll explain further later down the line. Again, this has gone way longer than I intended. I need to get to Best Buy so I can buy my webcam. Anyway, number 6. I am interested in learning and sharing information that exposes the fact that the world is a stage. So what do I mean by this? Okay, Candace Owens is working on a piece that is, and I don't mean to get back to the trans thing, but that's just the example that I can think of. But Candace Owens is working on a piece that exposes the First Lady of France as a transgender woman. And in this video, she shows a news clip from the Daily Mail, because she's laying the groundwork of she's getting the audience familiar with the fact that the elites are sexually weird. They do a lot of weird stuff, and she's explaining that, like, these people, this weirdness manifests in their policy, in their work. It's public facing. You can see it if you look for it. So she shows this clip from the Daily Mail, or this headline from the Daily Mail, where Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, basically decides or suggests that the spire on top of the Notre Dame Cathedral should be a large phallus with golden testes. She wanted to put a phallic symbol on Notre Dame, I think. I'll have to look at the article, or I'll put it somewhere. I sent that to my friends in a group chat, and one of them was like, how is this even real? And I think a lot of people would have that reaction. And in fact, part of Candace's one of the shocking things about this situation to both Candace and myself and other people who enjoy kind of trying to peel back the veil is it's shocking that this is a surprise to so many people, or this is just unknown to so many people. Like, there are so many people with a perception of the world that is so far removed from what is actually happening that it's like, I don't even know how to end that thought. I think that is the thought. Just the vast majority of people don't know what's happening, don't understand what's happening. They don't understand the rules by which the people that govern the world play. It's a completely different set of rules. And they would be weird to the common person, and they are. But what was my point there? Oh, the point being, Candace Owens is in that business of learning and sharing information that exposes the world as a stage. I think this is important because in order to make meaningful changes in the right direction, we have to understand what the present situation actually is. And that is just not the case that exists right now. Too many people are in the dark. Too many people don't know. So I'm interested in changing that. Yeah. See, that one was better. I ended it when I ended my thought. Moving on. Number 7, I am interested in facilitating the conscious ascension of as many people as possible because I believe that is the way to elevate humanity as a whole. Now, there's this idea that globalization, simply connecting the world, is the way to, well, who knows what their goals are, but there's this idea that globalization is the way. If we just make it so that it's all one, like, government or system, then everything else will just fall in line. I think that's false. I think, because, okay, look at it this way. If you connect 2 broken countries, what do you have? You have 2 broken countries. it's not a net positive just because they're connected now. I believe that the well, I think that people who have more altruistic motivations in their desires and efforts to create a global community have this idea of a peaceful utopia. It's a nice idea. I don't think it's realistic. I think that to fight, or to be human, is to fight, is to struggle. We will always find something to fight against or to struggle against. I also don't think that folding everyone into one identity ensures prosperity. There will be infighting. Let's say we make everyone in the world the same skin color, thus eradicating racism. Well, there are going to be new factions that arise based on whatever other discernible traits we can identify: height, athletic ability, intelligence, artistic ability. Those 40 people over there really, really like the color red. Those 48 people over there really, really like the color green. These factions will develop because that is what it's inherent in humanity for these things to happen. I think the conscious ascension, the elevation of humanity's consciousness happens by turning on one light at a time, or maybe like 100 lights at a time. But it's a gradual process that is powered by individual revelation. So individual enlightenment and spread across the population will lead to a more holistic humanity, a better humanity, an elevated humanity, I think. Yeah. And number 8, the last one, what time is it? It's 9:11. It's actually perfect because Best Buy opens at 10. So if I drive over there, how much I don't know how far it is from here. So anyway, number 8 is it says don't take this too seriously, but I want to explain what I mean by that. Don't take anything too seriously, because remember, this is all just an experience. This is like your fears are, I think, what make you chafe at the idea of not taking everything too seriously. You might think, oh, well, if I'm falling out of an airplane, I should probably with no parachute, I should take that seriously. I mean, what are you gonna do? You may as well just enjoy the ride down, right? Throwing our awareness and our consciousness towards these fantasies and getting them stuck there is not useful. It's not helpful. That's what fear is. They're fantasies. They're just, where they usually come from insecurities or threats to your paradigm. So when you understand maybe that you're going to encounter a situation that alters your worldview, that can be a source of fear. But yeah, don't take everything so seriously. This is all just an experience. Just relax. Relax. Everything's fine. Everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. Everything is happening in the time that it's supposed to happen. And time is a bit of a trip because it's something that shackles a lot of people. I don't mean like deadlines. I mean their perception that time is more powerful than they are. It's something that they should serve or bend their will to. A lot of people are under this impression, are shackled by this idea. But that's also because of fear. You think, oh, well, if I don't do this thing in this amount of time or by this date, everything I know goes to crap, or everything I love falls, or everything falls apart, da 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 da. It's like, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. You'll be okay. Everything is fine. Everything is okay. We live in, if you're like me, a regular person, then, especially if you're in America or if you're in any Western country where the media is controlled, then you have been conditioned to fear, to stress, to worry. It's like the Bene Gesserit say, fear is the mind killer. That's not just like a nothing, that's a real, that's very true. This is another thing that's interesting. So we'll also be doing movie reviews on this channel. And it's because I'm trying to dive into certain things and I'll explain it later. But these ideas come from places. They're not just like some guy who's just sitting in like, oh, that sounds cool, I'll just write. No. These ideas exist outside of these films. So like Dune is a great example. I won't talk about it right now, but Dune is a really, really, really good example of how and why the world is a stage and how it works behind the curtain. If you can take I'm trying not to say too much because I would want to save it for like a full review, but there is a lot in the plot of Dune that maps onto real life because it comes from real life. These stories. Okay, think about it this way. When you sit down to write a story, where are you pulling the ideas from? Where does it come from? It comes from a collective, like an ether, like a space where ideas are. Which ideas come to you? It's ideas that you may be familiar with or exposed to, or they just cross your field of vision, your field of view, and embed themselves somewhere in your subconscious to be surfaced sometime down the line. Maybe they won't be. Who knows? Well, they'll be expressed. Something else we'll get into. But these ideas come from a collective. So if you exist inside of a collective and you're exposed to how it's working, how it's moving, that becomes the wellspring from which your ideas are delivered. So me being where I am, in the country I'm in, and surrounded by the culture I'm surrounded by, my collective, like the collective I have access to, informs the things that I express. So the guy who sits down to write Dune, everything that happens in that story is informed by the ideas in the collective he had access to that wanted to be expressed. He was just a good vessel for those ideas to be expressed. This is another idea. I'll say this real quick and then I'll go because I think it's interesting and I'm going to watch this again so I can write it down and remember to make a video about this. But I took a walk to the lake yesterday. I didn't mean to. I took a walk. I was like, I want to go to the lake. And the lake turned out to be really far away. But I was already walking. And I was like, I like walks. Walks are good. Walks are really good. Anyways, I was pondering something that Carl Jung said. It has stuck with me for a very long time. He said that people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. And I think couldn't have said it any better. Ideas, feelings, thoughts exist in an ether, like in a soup, in a gas, in a nebula. And human beings are vessels for these ideas, these thoughts, these feelings. So these ideas and thoughts and feelings look for a way to be expressed in physical form. The only way that they can do that is through a human being. It's possession. This is literally the idea of possession. So if you are an adequately formed vessel, if you have the necessary attributes to express the idea, then you could possibly be consumed by the idea. We have a lot of examples of people who were consumed by the idea such that they lost themselves to the idea and were driven to madness. This happens a lot. I think this is why artists go crazy, or really, really intuitive people go crazy, because they give themselves to these ideas and they lose their sense of self. Maybe that's a bad thing, maybe it's a good thing, who knows? Because when it comes to artists, it's like if they're a really, really high level, highly intuitive artists, it's almost guaranteed that they're going to go crazy. So then in their head, they start to think, okay, well, once they accept allegiance to whatever idea this looks like, let's say, okay, allegiance, what does that look like? Let's say a painter, right? He sees an image in his mind when he's asleep, or let's say he's in like a hypnagogic state, or hypnopompic state. These are transitory states between sleep and wakefulness. They're very good states for receiving information. And he's in this state, and he sees a painting in perfect detail. And he immediately he has to paint it. He has to. But it's difficult. The specific paint he needs is, he lives in Germany. The paint. Ooh. Hold on. Let's say he lives in Japan. It's kind of better. Let's say he lives in Japan in 2020. There we go. So the paint that he needs is in, I don't know, Amsterdam. Okay. So he's trying to make this painting, but it seems like he's running into all these barriers, but he cannot get this painting out of his head. He cannot rest. He cannot stop until he paints this painting. What is happening to him is he is being consumed by an idea. So this idea, that this painting, which is the idea that is channeling itself through him, it wants to exist. It wants to be made manifest. It is using this individual, this painter, to do so. The more he channels this, the more he gives himself to this idea, it will give him more power. So let's say he has no way to get to Amsterdam. If he focuses the idea, if he focuses on this goal, the way will reveal itself. If you set a goal and you dedicate yourself to it, it will happen. It has to happen. So long as you dedicate yourself to this ultimate outcome, this goal, this idea, because it's in the best interest of both parties, perceivably so. So this idea will do whatever it can through this individual to make itself manifest. It wants to be here. It wants to exist. So as this painter is giving himself to this idea, he's giving up sleep. He's given up going to the gym. He doesn't really go out much anymore. All he's talking about is this painting and trying to figure out how to go to Amsterdam to get this very specific shade of paint. He's starting to go crazy because everyone else is like, you don't come outside. You don't exercise. You don't talk to us. You don't do anything but paint. He's going crazy. But it's because he's being consumed, being possessed by this idea. It is inevitable for an art, as the more they give themselves, the more we say they've gone crazy. Once the artist accepts that this is going to happen, they've accepted their path. I imagine in their head, they're like, okay, well, I really need to make this happen. Because now a timer has gone off, or a timer has started. And if he dies before he can make this idea manifest, he will simply die a crazy person. The measure of a crazy person is their utility to the people around them. So if there's a crazy person who's just crazy and not useful, nobody cares. It's not. It's a sad existence. But if there's a crazy person who's useful to society, most times we're willing to excuse their craziness because we benefit from it. Case in point, when Kanye is off his meds and makes really good music, we're like, is he mentally ill? Yeah. But that album he made, Graduation, though. So, and I think it's because, well, I don't know why I think it's because. I do, but I don't want to keep talking. This is going on for a really long time. How many minutes has this been? I can't see. I don't know. But, yeah, I need to go. Thank you for listening. If you are still here, well, I'm still going to be here, so me that is watching this, thank you for watching this whole thing. If the information in this video or the content of this video is appealing to you in any way, stick around. You might be my people. If not, then go away. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be around you. You probably smell weird. Yeah. I need chapstick.